Hello and welcome to the support video for getting onto Canvas ELA, so English Language Arts modules, as well as just getting onto Canvas in general. So the first thing you're going to do is you want to open Google Chrome. You want to make sure that you're using Chrome or Firefox. My Canvas doesn't work very well in Internet Explorer. I prefer to use Chrome just because Canvas tends to work the best within Google Chrome. So we're going to assume that your homepage doesn't look like mine. This is a teacher homepage. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to dmschools.org. Your page should look something like this. At this point, there are several different ways you can get to the Canvas modules. If you're on the second dot, you can see the distance learning. You can click on this link, which will send you to all of the different options that we have for distance learning. You'll notice on the right-hand side, there is Canvas as well as a quick guide to Canvas. So if you click on Canvas, it's going to take you immediately to the sign-in page. I'm going to actually go back, though, to show you this quick guide to Canvas. This is where you can go if you're still having difficulties. They have a video here that you can view, as well as a link to Canvas and then some additional information down at the bottom. So if you're still more curious about what Canvas is, how to get on there, all of that, you can look at that quick guide to Canvas. But like I said, if you click Canvas, it's going to take you immediately to the login. You are going to use the same login information you use to get into the computer at school. So you are going to type in your school email address, which as a reminder is your student ID number. So it's usually like a 6 or 7 digit code. A lot of students it starts with the number 6, yours might not. It's your ID number at student period DM schools with an S at the end period org. And then your password will be whatever your password is to get onto the computer at school. If you don't remember your password, you are going to have to email your advisory teacher or your first period teacher and ask them to reset your password, and they'll be able to reset your password for you. Since I am not a student, I am going to use my email address and click enter here. And then you're going to get to your dashboard. And in here, you will see all of the courses that you have access to. We are going to go into an English language arts course, so language and literature in my case. Mine will look different from yours for just a second. I'm going to click student view, and then it should look very similar to yours. So this is what it should look like. You will then click on whatever grade level it is that you are wanting to work on. You can work in any grade level that you want, but we recommend that you start in your current grade level. So I am a 6th grade language arts teacher, so I'm going to click on 6th grade. It's then going to show me all of the weeks of work. Now, you will not be able to access any week ahead of time. These are published by 8:30 a.m. on the Monday of the week. So today is April 27th. So this week 1 module should have been published and made available to you at about 8:30 in the morning on April 27th. Week number 2 isn't going to be available for you until the Monday, May 4th in the morning. So there's no way to work ahead. We just want you to work on 1 week at a time. So we're going to go ahead and click on week 1. And here it is. So you'll notice here in the corner, there is a button that says Immersive Reader. So if you are wanting to have any of this information read to you, you can click on this. And it's going to pull it up as an immersive reader. Now, this is not actually the text reader that I recommend, because you'll notice when we click on it, it changes what it looks like. That means that when you go back in and you try to do some of the work in here, it might be hard for you to figure out what is where. So I recommend downloading this Read Aloud, a text-to-speech voice reader extension. I will be creating another video to show you how to download those. So if you don't already have them downloaded, these are exclusive to Google Chrome. So if you're using Firefox, you wouldn't be able to have access to this extension. This is a Google Chrome extension. But with this extension, I can click on it. So, and you'll notice it starts reading right away. It does still pull the text out differently, but it's not quite as hard to navigate as the immersive reader in Canvas. So that is still my recommendation for that. So you can scroll all the way down. You can see a lot of this stuff. It does not work for everything, but it's going to work for the vast majority of what's on the page. We're going to click out of that. So you'll see we are all about reading closely for text details. At this point in time, I am going to shift from this video being more of a general Canvas tutorial to being a more instructional support video for this particular module. So if you are done, you're good to go, you just needed to figure out how to get here, go ahead and get started. If you are a little overwhelmed by everything that is in here, go ahead and stick with me and we will go through some of this stuff together. All right, so like I said, we're going to transition now into some instructional support on how to work through this module. So we're going to go ahead and just start at the top. So this is called The Wolf You Feed, is the name of this unit. Over the next few weeks, we will be exploring a series of related texts, images, and multimedia. They are connected, but you'll need to use your close reading skills to determine what those connections are. We will examine texts and ask you to analyze their central idea and how supporting details help develop it. This section right here is just some information on how to navigate this page. As a gentle reminder, we are recommending that students start by doing the science module first. This week's science module is set up to help teach you how to navigate and use Canvas. Since we know a lot of students aren't familiar with this platform, a lot of teachers weren't using this before our distance learning. So if you haven't done your science module first, I recommend that you pause this video and go and check out science because it is going to be a lot more in-depth on how to use Canvas. If you have, or if you're already slightly familiar with Canvas, you can go ahead and stick with this video. So this is just a little bit of more information. Be sure to follow all the steps. So documents are linked in blue. So anytime you see text that is blue in color, that tells you that that's something that you can click on. You need to be very careful because sometimes they're really small and hard to see. So just remember that you're looking for that blue text. If you're having a hard time seeing blue, like if you're colorblind or if you have vision problems, make sure to let your teacher know because your teacher should be able to change, like they might be able to underline those or make them bolder for those class sections. So if you're having a hard time seeing them, let your teacher know. These links appear automatically on your screen, but if you click on the blue link, you can download your own copy that can be saved on your computer. You then can type in and highlight on that document or print it out. So you'll notice as we get down into this module, there are several activities that it wants you to do. If you download that activity, you'll be able to actually type within that document. Tasks or action steps are in purple. Some tasks will have you submit work or enter a discussion. Others simply have you reflect on your own. So for week 1, there are 3 parts of our learning. We've got an introduction, we have an image investigation, and then we have a text investigation. Some of you might want to do this all in one sitting. That's completely fine. Others of you, it might work better to do this in chunks. So maybe you want to do the introduction on Monday, the image investigation on Tuesday, and the text investigation on Wednesday. We want you to choose whatever works best for you as a learner. Remember that this is all you have for English language arts for the entire week. You just have these 3 sections. So I want you to think about what is going to work best for you as a learner. Would you rather just sit down and crank out all 3, or do you want to chunk it up? Whatever works best for you. I would maybe recommend doing the introduction and the image investigation one day, taking a little break, coming back and doing that text investigation either later in the day or even that next day as well. Over here, you're going to see your goal, our goals. So this is what we want you to learn, or the skills we want you to develop as you're going through this. So we want you to learn what it means to read a text closely by attending to and analyzing textual details, as well as analyzing visual-based text. So that's looking at those images. All right, so we're going to dive into the introduction. So you'll see it's right here. Number 1, introduction. There are many jobs that require close reading and guiding questions. A musician might ask herself, how do the sounds of the various instruments work together? A crime scene investigator might ask, what evidence suggests how the perpetrator came and went from the scene? These more general questions lead the experts to then ask specific questions directly related to the object of investigation. For example, the general question concerning the perpetrators coming and going, so that's the person who committed the crime, coming and going might lead the investigator to notice a set of muddy footprints. She then might ask, what are the size and type of shoes that left these muddy footprints? Experts ask these questions so that they clearly understand what they are studying and can clearly communicate their understanding to others. This is in purple. If you remember from up above, that means that it's a task or an action step. So they want you to brainstorm at least 2 other jobs where you need guiding questions to get more information. So think about who else is asking questions in jobs. You could write this down on a piece of paper. You could open a different Word document. We'll go ahead and open just a quick Word document on our computer. If you don't have Word pinned down here and you're using a school laptop, you can also click over and scroll down. You might see it here. If you don't, you can scroll all the way down to the M's. Oops, except I think it's in W for Word. Let's see. Yep, so W, and then you'll see Word, and you click on it. So I'm going to click blank document. So remember, our task said to brainstorm at least 2 other jobs that might where you need guiding questions to get more information. So we talked about a crime scene investigation or investigator as well as a musician. So I might say politicians need to generate guiding questions when they are making laws and regulations. Another job that I thought of immediately was scientists need to generate guiding questions when they are figuring out what to research. So those are just 2 ideas. You can try to think of a few more. I'm going to now go back to this. So get to know the tool. As we read and examine each text, use the following handout to help focus your thinking. The questions in each row are general, but can help direct you to key evidence in the image or the text. Look over this handout as we'll be using it several times. You'll notice now we have blue. This shows you, if you click on this guiding questions handout, it's going to give you an actual copy of what they're showing you right here. So if you are the type of person who wants something physical, so you'll see I clicked on it, it generated down here. I'm going to open it. Now I have this document for myself and I can look at it. This is just to help you if you're having a hard time coming up with questions, take a look at this. So we have questions like, well, thinking about why are you reading this? What is the title? What type of text is it? Thinking about how is it organized? What stands out to me? What do I learn? Who is the intended audience? So who is it written for? Looking for patterns. So if you're having a hard time coming up with questions, we're going to keep this open. We're going to now go back to this. There's nothing we have to actually do with this document except look at it and have it as a resource in case we need it. That is all for introduction for number 1. That is one of the reasons why I recommend clumping 1 and 2 together with the image investigation. There's not a whole lot to our introduction. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, go ahead and take a break. Just go ahead and stop. Maybe come back to number 2 tomorrow. Take a little break, go outside on a walk, go do some art, watch a few videos, play a game, and then come back when you're feeling good. Okay, number 2, we're looking at this image investigation. That goes back to our learning goal of analyzing visual information. So step number 1, first impressions. Examine the 5 images. So there are 5 images that are here, and underneath is an actual document. So we're going to pull up this document after we're done reading the directions. Always read the directions all the way through first before you start an activity. So we're going to examine the 5 images. Record your first impressions in the graphic organizer linked below. What stands out to you as you examine each image? After we've done that, we're going to refer to the guiding questions handout. That's this handout right here. We're going to think about what questions do we have about each image. And our task is to write a specific question for each image that would help guide our understanding of what is happening in that picture. And then step number 3 is to construct a caption. We're going to write a short title or caption that summarizes what the image is about. So like I said, we've got our document here. Remember, the blue link means that it's something that you can click on and it will download for you. So we're going to download this. We're going to click it. We are then going to open it. And here it is. You'll notice it opens in protected view. That means you're not going to be able to type anything. I am trying to type in this box. It's not going to work. You have to click Enable Editing. And now you will be able to type in these boxes. So if you remember, our task number 1 was this first impressions. This box is number 1, number 2, number 3, and we've got the directions right here. So we can just stay on this document. If you have a printer and you'd rather print this out and handwrite on it, you absolutely can. Otherwise, you can just work on it from your computer. So we're going to do the first 2 of these together, and then I'm going to leave the last 3 up to you to do on your own. So we're going to do first impressions first. What stands out to you? What do you see happening? So we're going to make some observations about these pictures. So let's look at this first picture here. I want to make this a little bit bigger just for now so I can see it a little bit better. So we've got 2 wolves. So I'm going to write that down. We have 2 wolves. So the one on the left, the wolf on the left looks like it's angry or mean. I'm going to also say why I think that it's angry or mean. It's obviously not telling me that it's angry or mean. I think it looks angry based on other dogs that I have seen with this expression. So I have seen, like in movies or TV shows, dogs that have been angry or aggressive, a lot of the times will look like this wolf on the left. They've got their teeth shown. He's got his eyes kind of squinted. It looks like his ears are kind of pulled back. I know that that's something that angry dogs will do. I also know that dogs and wolves are related to each other. So that is part of why I'm making that observation. And now I'm going to say, what do I see happening? So I think these wolves might be fighting about something. I don't know what they're fighting about. It doesn't look like there's any food on the ground. I don't see any blood on either one of them, so I don't think that they've been hunting relatively like recently. So I'm not sure what they're fighting about, but I've seen dogs fight with each other. It looks similar to this. I'm going to go ahead and do all 3 of these boxes for each picture first. If you want to do first impressions of all of the pictures first, you absolutely can. I want to stay focused on one picture at a time though. So I'm going to go to step number 2 for this picture. Using the guiding questions handout, write a text-specific question about details in the image you want to know more about. What are 3 key details that guide your understanding? So we're going to go back to that document. And think about some of these questions. So I am going to think about up here, it says take note. I take note of information about the text. What is the title? Who is the author? Now, obviously, we don't always think of pictures as being text. We think of text as being written words, but pictures count as a type of text. So I'm going to look at this, and instead of thinking about who wrote it, I'm going to ask the question, who took this picture and where were they? I want to know where these wolves are at. This is a real picture as opposed to several of these other pictures being paintings. It's a real picture. So I'm interested in who took this picture and where they were at. Were they in a zoo setting? Were they on a like a wolf refuge? Or were they out in the wilderness and these are like completely wild wolves? I think that would give me a good idea then of what they are fighting about. I want you to focus on just generating that text-specific question. Don't worry about what are 3 key details that have guide. Well, that's written wrong. One should be guided your understanding. I don't want you to worry too much about that part. I want you to worry just about generating a question about the picture. And then the last part is write a short title or caption that summarizes what the image is about. So I'm going to think about my observation, my question, and then come up with a title or a caption. So a caption would be like a short sentence or phrase that would go along the picture. A title would obviously be an even shorter phrase, just kind of giving a general idea of what the picture is of. So I am going to say, if I wanted to do a title, I might say two wolves in conflict. Remember that word conflict means like a fight or a problem. Well, these wolves, at least one of them obviously has a problem with the other. If I wanted to do a caption, I might say 2 wolves in winter engage in some sort of conflict. Makes sense? Now I'm done with that first image. I'm then going to go down. Remember, we're going to do 2 together as a group. If you are good with this, you don't need another example, you can go ahead and pause the video and do all of these images on your own. or you can skip ahead to the next section, or you can just stay with me. So remember, I'm going to talk about the things that I see in this picture. This picture is kind of hard for me to see. This is not an actual picture. This is a draw, or it's some sort of artwork. So that's immediately what I'm going to say, is that it's artwork. It's not an actual picture. It looks probably like it's a painting. So it's artwork. I'm going to say probably a painting. I'm also going to say that it looks older. And I say that because of the coloring and because of the style. This artwork looks older to me. And at first, when it was smaller, I didn't even see the wolf in this artwork. I didn't really see it until I expanded it. So you'll see this gray-green creature here is the wolf. I would say the wolf looks angry or mean, just like the wolf up here. It actually looks very similar to this wolf up here. It is fighting a person. And it actually looks like there's somebody back here who might be cheering one of these on. And there's people in the background that seem to be in conflict with each other too. If you look here, we've got this person on a horse and we've got a person down here. It looks like those two might be fighting as well. So I'm going to say it looks like there is a lot of fighting going on in the background as well. This might be some sort of war or battle because there's lots of fighting going on. Next, we're going to think about questions that we have. So one of the first questions that I have is, this was a painting and it's an older painting. I want to know, when was this painting created? I also want to know who created this painting. And then, since it's a painting, we know with this picture that this situation actually happened. Since this is a painting, I'm not sure if this is a situation that actually happened or if it's somebody's imagination. So that is another question that I have about this, is, does this painting represent a real event or is it fiction? These are all really good guiding questions. They're just things that I want to know more about. Now we need a title or a caption. I'm going to model doing both of these. A title I might have for this, so I've got some sort of war going on, is I might simply title it War of the Wolves, because there's a wolf and they're at war. This is also a play on War of the Worlds, which is a movie. It was a radio program, and then people have written short stories and books about it as well. So it's kind of a play on that. Or a caption I might have is, a painting of men and a wolf at war. Or I might say at battle, or let's say in battle. That might be an example of what my caption might look like. This, so for this week, this document that you are creating now does not have to be turned into anybody. So you don't have to turn this into your English language arts teachers. You don't have to do anything with this document. But I'm going to show you how to save it just in case you wanted to. So I would click here, save as, and then I'm going to save it somewhere. I like to save browse so that I can choose exactly where I save it. I like to save things to my desktop just because I see them right away. I'm going to create a new folder that says ELA Canvas. And I'm going to change the name of this to Wolf Images Organizer. Remember, this step is optional. You do not have to save this. because you're not actually sending this to anybody. If you want to send this, if you are in my 6th grade English arts class and you would like to send this to either Mrs. Freeman or myself, Mrs. Smithman, you totally can. We would love to see some of the work that you're doing. You do not have to, though. It's completely optional. But now this is saved in case I want to come back to it later. All right, we're going to go back to our Canvas course now. I would encourage you to go on and do the remaining 3 pictures. So you'll just go ahead and continue on that document on your own. We're going to go ahead and move on in our tutorial video though. So we're going to scroll down. We're all done with this. Remember, there's nowhere to submit this assignment, this part of the, so Canvas calls it assignments, but remember, it's all optional. You don't have to, it's not graded. We will give you feedback and let you know that we received it. But remember, it's not graded at all. That is the end of part 2. So if you did a lot of really good work, your brain is feeling a little tired right now, take a little break, maybe come back, do number 3 later in the day, or do it tomorrow or later in the week. I wouldn't recommend waiting too long in between doing parts 1 and 2 and doing parts 3. You don't want to forget what you did the first time. But if you want to wait until tomorrow, section number 3 is longer. It does have a longer text that we'll read through. So if you're needing a little bit of a break, just take that break now. All right, step number 3, reading closely for details, text number 2. A Brief History of Wolves in the U.S. by Cornelia N. Hutt. Step 1, you'll be reading an informational text that provides an overview, sorry about the typo, an overview of the history of wolves in the U.S., from their importance to Native American cultures to their current controversial status as an endangered species. As you read, use the guiding questions handout from our image investigation and locate the topic, information, and ideas section. These questions will help focus your reading. As you read, think about the question, what information or ideas does this text present? So what information is it giving you? So the first thing, step number 1, is to just read the article and think about what is the information or the ideas that they're giving you. Step 2, you're going to go back to this handout, review the questions listed under language. So what words or phrases stand out to me as I read? Are they powerful or unique? What did the words cause me to see or feel? And mark details you notice about the words or phrases. And then step number 3, construct an objective summary of the text, focusing on the central idea and supporting details. If you are in Miss Freeman's English Language Arts class, you will see there is a button right here that says either assignment or click here to turn in your summary. This is just a trial for us to see if we have it set up properly for you to do your work directly in Canvas and having it sent to us. Remember, it's not an actual assignment. It's not graded. If you're in a different teacher's Canvas course, you likely won't have this on yours at all. This is something that Mrs. Freeman, Miss Vogel, and Mrs. Smithman, that we are trialing and practicing more from a teacher standpoint. But we'll go through how to submit it as well. So at this point in time, we're going to go down to the text. Remember, it's blue. That means it's a link we can click on. If we click on it here, it's going to download the link for us, or it's going to download our article. It's right here. Or you also have it popped up right in here. You could read it right on Canvas if you want. This is a little clunky for me, so I did click to download that. I'm going to pull it up in a separate document. That way, when I get here and I want to mark any details or phrases that stand out to me, I can do it right in this document. Right now, though, we're just going to read and think about what information or ideas does this text present. So we're going to open this. And remember, if you want to mark on this actual document, you need to click Enable Editing so that you're able to mark in it. If you're just going to pull it up to read, you can just pull it up. It's a little long. Not too bad. So we're going to go ahead and you can read through this on your own, or you can stay with us as I read it out loud. A Brief History of Wolves in the U.S. by Cornelia N. Hutt. Wolves once roamed across most of North America. Over hundreds of thousands of years, they developed side by side with their prey. And so you'll notice when I downloaded it, sometimes we've got these weird numbers that pop up in here. I know that this word is supposed to be killed. I'm sorry, I don't know why some of those numbers popped in there. But just stay with me, just listen as I read, because I know what the words are supposed to say. For over hundreds of thousands of years, they developed side by side with their prey and filled an important role in the web of life. Opportunistic hunters, wolves preyed on deer, elk, and beaver, killing and eating the young, the sick, the weak, and the old, and leaving the fittest to survive and reproduce. Let's say I see a word here that I'm not quite sure what it means. If I click on the word twice, it's going to highlight it. I can then right-click, and I can click this button that says Smart Lookup. It's then going to bring the word up on the right. I can click here to hear the word, opportunistic, and then here is the definition. So exploiting chances offered by immediate circumstances without reference to a general plan or moral principle. What the heck does that mean? So it means that they take advantage of situations that come up, no matter kind of what they are. They see an opportunity and they take it. Wolf kills provided a source of food for numerous other species such as bears, foxes, eagles, and ravens. Wolves even contributed to forest health by keeping deer and elk populations in check, thus preventing overgrazing and soil erosion. Not surprisingly, there we go. What we're going to do is we are going to get ready. I'm going to pause for a second. We're going to get ready for that step 3, which is writing a summary. We're going to take time right now to think about that question that they asked us. What information or ideas does this text present? Does this text present? We're going to go in every few paragraphs. I'm going to change my text color so it really sticks out. I'm going to answer that question. So what information are they giving us? So look at this first paragraph. What information are they telling us? First of all, who or what are they talking about? They are talking about wolves. I'm going to choose a darker color than this light green. Let's choose a dark green. So wolves, what about wolves? Wolves, if we look here, filled an important role in the web of life. So we can say wolves were an important part of, and they talk about forest health down here. So I'm going to summarize this as wolves were an important part of forest life. All right, let's go ahead and keep reading. Not surprisingly, the cultures which inhabited North America before the time of European exploration revered the wolf in its role in nature. So they thought it was very important. Many indigenous groups relied on hunting as their major source of food and goods and were keenly attuned to their environment. So they hunt for a living. They're very aware of their environment then. The elements of the natural world, including the wolf, were important to their everyday lives and spirituality. Native Americans, so I'm down here. Native Americans attributed an array of powers and miracles to wolves, from the creation of tribes to healing powers. For example, the The Kwakatool in the Pacific Northwest believed that before they became men or women, they had been wolves. The Arikara believed that Wolfman made the Great Plains for them and other animals. The Sioux and Cheyenne of the Great Plains and many other tribes credited the wolf with teaching them how to survive by hunting and by valuing family bonds. In other Native American cultures, the wolf played an important role in the spiritual and ceremonial life of the tribe. Wolves were regarded as mysterious beings with powers they could bestow upon people. The Crow, for instance, believed that a wolf skin could save lives. Other Native American lore is full of stories of wolves and of wolf parts healing the sick and the mortally injured. So you'll notice the next section talks about Europeans. So I'm going to take a pause and think about that question, what information am I getting? I'm going to change my text color to green. This whole section was about who. It was all about how Native Americans felt about the wolves. So I'm going to write Native Americans and think about how did they think about the wolves? Viewed wolves as important to their lives and their spirituality. So that's like their religion. And I'm going to give an example. For example, oops, sorry, I pressed a weird button. For example, and now I'm going to go back into that text and find a specific example. So the Crow, for instance, believed that a wolf skin could save lives. I'm going to come up here and say, for example, the Crow believed that wolf skins could save people's lives. Does that make sense? How every once in a while I'm stopping and I'm writing down and I'm thinking about what is the text teaching me? What is it telling me? I'm doing that for two reasons. One, because that's step one that we've asked you to do. What information or ideas does this text present? But if I actually write some of them down, that's going to help me with my step 3 of constructing an objective summary. I'm not going to model pulling any more of this information out of here, but I will give you prompts to say, hey, now might be a good time for you to think about that question and write what the text is telling you. Now that I've modeled it twice for you, I will give you an idea of when a good place in the story would be to do that. All right, let's keep going. When Europeans arrived in the New World, roughly 250,000 wolves flourished in what are now the lower 48 states. So that means they lived really well. Many settlers, however, brought with them a legacy of persecution dating back centuries. Mythology, legends, and fables, such as those popularized by Aesop and the Brothers Grimm, intensified people's fear of wolves. In America, the killing of wolves came to symbolize the triumph of civilization over what was considered to be a wilderness wasteland. In 1630, just 10 years after the Mayflower landed at Plymouth Rock, the Massachusetts Bay Colony began offering a reward or a bounty for every wolf killed. So just start to think about how is that different from how the Native Americans viewed wolves? How is how the Europeans view wolves different from how the Native Americans were viewing them? Just think about that. We're going to keep reading though. Colonists relied heavily on the deer population for food for themselves and as an export item. So they ate it and they sold it. When the deer population dropped as a result of overhunting, wolves became a convenient scapegoat. So they're saying that the deer population dropped because they were hunting them too much. But instead of realizing that they were the reason it was dropping, They blamed it on wolves. They were also held accountable for livestock losses, even when diseases and other causes were to blame. Few people seem to question the belief that a safe home required the elimination of all wolves. In time, wolf killing became a profession, became a job. In the 19th century, the demand for pelts sent hundreds of hunters out to kill every wolf that they could. At the same time, ranchers moved into the western plains to take advantage of cheap and abundant grazing land. As domestic livestock, so those are things like pigs, cows, sheep, as domestic livestock replaced the wolf's natural prey base of bison and deer, the threat of wolf predation on cattle led to a massive campaign to exterminate the wolf in the American West. So wolves are starting to eat other things. Now they want to kill them completely. Professional wolfers working for the livestock industry laid out. Now I don't actually know this word, so I'm going to double click on it. I'm going to click Smart Lookup. I'm going to listen to how they say it.
Strychnine.
Strychnine. Strychnine.
Strychnine.
So they laid out strychnine poisoned meat lines. So let's look at what does strychnine actually mean. So it's a bitter and highly poisonous compound obtained from basically a plant. Okay, so we just know that it's some sort of poisonous plant, so strychnine. They laid out strychnine poisoned meat lines up to 150 miles long. When populations dropped to such low levels that wolves were difficult to, and states offered bounties with the goal of extirpating wolves together. Okay, I'm not quite sure what this sentence is saying, so I'm going to highlight it and I'm going to try to read it again. When populations dropped to such low levels that wolves were difficult to, and states offered bounties with the goal of. So I'm going to, again, use that smart lookup for this word. I'm going to hear this word.
Extirpate.
Extirpate. Okay, so that's a word that I've heard before, but it's not a word that I've ever seen written down. So extirpate, this says ing though, so this is extirpating, which means to root out and destroy completely. I think that there's a typo within this line because this part of the sentence doesn't make sense, but I can tell that we've got low populations of wolves and that this next part, the state offered bounties, which if you remember from earlier is rewards. The state offered rewards with the goal of extirpating wolves together, which means destroying completely. So it sounds like they're offering rewards for completely killing the wolf population. Wolves were shot, poisoned, trapped, clubbed, set on fire, and inoculated with mange. Let's look at what that word inoculated means. I know what it means, but it means to treat with a vaccine. So they were given medicine, or they were given shots with mange. Mange is a disease, so they were purposefully making the wolves sick. A painful and often fatal skin disease caused by mites. So they're purposefully giving them this disease. In a 25-year period at the turn of the century, more than 80,000 wolves were killed in Montana alone, just in that one state. Well into the 20th century, the belief that wolves posed a threat to human safety persisted despite documentation to the contrary. The persecution continued. By the 1970s, only 500 to 1,000 wolves remained in the lower 48 states, occupying less than 3% of their former range. So let's take a second here, and I want you to think about that question. What did I learn about wolves? What did I learn? And then I want you to think about wolves, about how Europeans, oops, oh my gosh, It could be the answer to any of these questions. Just what did you learn in general? You can think about what did you learn about wolves? What did you learn about how Europeans treated wolves? And then what did you learn about the wolf population in general? So take a second and write down some of your information. Remember, you might want to go up and pull some information directly from the text. That's what we did in this example. We gave them a specific example. So if you're talking about how the Europeans feel about the wolves, how do you know they felt that way? All right, remember you can pause the video at any time if you need more time, if you're following along with me and doing this at home. All right, we're going to go ahead and finish up our article. Fortunately, America's understanding of the wolf has grown in the last 20 years. As scientists have discovered more about the intricacies of nature, our knowledge of the interdependence of all living things has increased significantly. People are now more aware of the importance of predators, like the wolf, in maintaining healthy ecosystems. In addition, as our population has become increasingly urbanized, so more big cities, and wilderness areas have been swallowed up by development, we have begun to treasure what we are losing. The wolf has become a symbol of our loss. The overwhelming number of wolf advocacy groups that now thrive in the United States attest to the degree to which these predators have captured our interest and our imagination. Thanks to efforts by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, zoos, and wildlife advocacy groups, wolves have slowly begun to recover in areas where they have long been absent. In recent years, wolves have been successfully introduced to former habitats in central Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, North Carolina, and Arizona. More than 5,000 wolves now inhabit the wild south of Canada. While many welcome this recovery, a vocal minority remains strongly opposed to the presence of any wolves at all in the wild. So now think about, what are they telling you now? What are you learning now? So what did I learn? About wolves, about how people view them. So take a quick minute, write one or two sentences about what you learned now. All right, and now we are on to the objective summary. We are going to, so step 2 has you looking at language and rereading the passage and marking details. You can totally do that if you want to. I am not going to cover step number 2 in this tutorial. Just think of it as some extra that you can do on top of this. So if you're wanting a little bit more work, if the objective summary was really easy for you, go ahead and do that. Look at these questions and do that on your document. That's not going to be turned in anywhere. We are now going to focus on that step number 3, writing our objective summary. So as a reminder, an objective summary is short. So we're looking at about 5 sentences. It identifies the central idea and the supporting details. So what is the main message that the author is trying to get across to you? How do you know that? It does not include the opinions of the person writing it. So we don't want to read anything that says, I think wolves are really cool, or I think wolves are dangerous, because that's your own opinion. That's not what the author is saying. That's not what the author wants you to walk away understanding. So you want to keep your own opinions and your own thoughts and feelings out of your summary. And then it answers the question, what is the text about? So if you are in anybody else's classes other than Mrs. Vogel, Mrs. Smithman, or Mrs. Freeman, you can just do this on a piece of paper. You can kind of do it wherever. If you are in one of those classes that I mentioned, you should have a button right underneath step 3 that either says assignment or click here to submit your summary, click here for your assignment, whatever. it might be. So you're going to click on this, and it will take you to a summary. This is where you are going to write your objective summary. Now, some of you are going to have a little tidbit in here. Some of it might just say write your objective summary here and submit it. It might not say anything at all. Regardless of what it says here, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write your summary. In order to pull up how you're going to write it, you're going to click on the button Submit Assignment. And then if you scroll down, you'll see you now have a place where you can write. So I'm going to put these reminders in here so it's short. So I'm going to write myself a reminder that it's 5 sentences. I'm going to actually number them right now just to remind myself to put in 5 full sentences. It's 5 sentences. Your first sentence should be the central idea. That is also sometimes called the main idea. And think about what is the entire text trying to teach you. You're then going to support that main idea with several details. I'm also going to put in here, up at the top, keep your own opinions / feelings out of the summary. I am going to help you with the main idea or central idea. If you're not sure what to put in here, this is one example of a central idea you can put in here. It is not the only central idea. You might come up with something different. That's perfectly fine. An example of a central idea that you might have for this article is that wolves have played a big role in America's ecosystems, but how people feel about them have changed a lot over time. Because they talk about, even in the beginning of the article, they talk about how important wolves are to ecosystems. They talk about it at the end of the article as well. The beginning of the article, they talk about how the Native Americans really revered or respected the wolf population. They found them really powerful and strong, and a lot of the times considered them like part of their spirituality or religion. And then we talk about the Europeans, and the Europeans did not feel that way. And then it talks at the end that people are now changing their ideas and starting to respect the wolf even more. So we have that change over time. This changed a lot over time. So then if you're needing support, think about, remember that your details need to support your central idea. So we have that they played a big role in America's ecosystem. So how are they important to the ecosystem? You can then think about, how did Native Americans view wolves? How did Europeans, oops, helps if I spell it right, Europeans view wolves? And then wrap it up with, how do people view wolves now? If you can answer those questions, you will have a really solid summary, really solid objective summary. When you are done writing this, you will click Submit Assignment, and the assignment will go directly to your English Language Arts teacher and will be able to view it and give you feedback on it. And then, my folks, you are done. You are completely done with this. I do want to show you, I'm not going to save my changes in here because remember, I'm not a real student. I'm going to show you here at the bottom too. When you go all the way to the bottom, you'll notice there's a next button. You do not ever need to click the next button. We will always have everything that you need to do on this one page. And you'll actually notice when I hover over it, it says next is 7th grade content. So if you click on next, it's actually going to take you to the 7th grade page. You'll notice it says 7th grade. So you do not need to click on next. If you found this really fun or exciting and you want to work on 7th grade English language arts, you know what? You totally can. Theirs is about the North Pole, but you're not going to submit that information anywhere. You need to make sure that you're focused in on your 6th grade language arts first, and think of those other grade levels as being just extra work that you can do if you're bored or if you really, really enjoy English language arts. All right, hopefully this was helpful for you on getting into Canvas as well as working through that first module. As a reminder, I'm going to try to do videos like this every week to kind of help you through those modules. Feel free to send your teachers emails. And then in the comment section on this video is a link to our blog as well. So you will, on that blog, I will upload this organizer that we went through. I will also have a graphic organizer for your objective summary. So what I typed into the assignment when I put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in that central idea, that's going to be uploaded onto that blog as well. So if you need to view that or if you want to use that to help structure your response, check out those resources. All right. I hope you are all staying happy, healthy, and safe, and have a wonderful week. Bye.